Ooh, this thing's hot.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video, I got a match coming up this week, and it's actually going to be stretching out to 1,350 yards. So I do plan on taking a 6 arc, and that's really stretching this cartridge. Even though this thing is going 2,940 feet a second with the 105s, it's going to be pushing it out to that range. So with that stated, since I'm out here trying to re-zero the rifle and everything, I thought it'd be a good discussion to talk about basically how to use your scope and get on target a lot faster. So a lot of folks, they look for reticles and they're trying to decide what scope to buy. And the debate is MOA or MRAD. Well, for competition, a lot of folks use MRAD, and it's simply because it's faster, especially for a PRS match that's requiring to engage targets at a certain amount of time. For instance, these targets are going to be engaging at 105 seconds. This is more of an NRL style match. You really want to be able to get on target fast. So that's where MRAD comes in handy. But it really doesn't matter if you choose MRAD or MOA. Well, all you really need to know is how to use your reticle when you to spot your misses and use that at your advantage to compensate what to dial. So let's get a zero going. I got 105s loaded up here, Burger 105s. It's on a brand new spur mount, so I got to make sure this thing is zeroed out the way it is. I very much appreciate you guys joining the Eagle's Nest. Today's video emphasis is about getting on target faster. Regardless if you're using an MOA scope or an MRAD, I'll show you guys a method that I've been using that seems to work for either. Also, we're going to discuss cone of accuracy. What is cone of accuracy, and what is your cone of accuracy on your rifle? Stick around, you might like this one. So having a good optic that is tracking 100% and also a good chrono number is key to having first round impacts. So with this 105, you could tell the velocity has definitely increased for me. I was originally at 2,920 feet a second. With the temperatures out here today being 110, definitely has increased. So knowing your hand loads and knowing your dope is another key factor. Like I mentioned, get a good zero, get a good velocity reading, and use a scope that you know for sure tracks. So when zeroing out your rifle as well, these were the first 2 shots I took. You could tell that it was definitely about 1/2 inch, or basically 1 inch low and about 1/2 inch right. This is an MRAD. I was able to actually use the reticle and count the hash marks. Now, zooming in all the way at 30x, this is the benefit of having a high power scope. Obviously, you zoom into the mirage and all the other effects downrange. Glass clarity does depreciate, but having a 30 power scope or a 25 power scope really helps you getting a perfect zero. So zooming in, I was able to use the reticle and actually see that I was 2/10 low and about 2/10 left. So adjusting your scope, you're adjusting your point of impact. The turrets on the scope, a lot of folks, if you're new to long range, they think you're adjusting the actual reticle. In fact, what you're doing is actually adjusting your point of impact. This rifle is still capable of shooting sub MOA, about 1/2 inch. That was actually 4 shots right here dead center. Another thing to talk about is your zero actually changes the way you shoot. If you're going to be prone and you're going to zero out your rifle prone, that is basically the way you want to shoot. If you shoot off a bench, you're going to notice your point of impact is going to shift either top left or bottom left, depending on how your eyes focus in on that reticle. So my opinion is whatever style of shooting you plan on doing, if you're going to be a target shooter and you're going to shoot off a bench, definitely zero out your rifle and get a perfect zero off a bench. If you're going to be prone, shoot prone, get a zero on that. It's also really good data to actually notate your point of impact changes on their different positions of shooting, kneeling, unsupported, or whatever it is. In fact, there's a good test you could do, which is hosted by Chris Way from The Craft, and I'll put a link in the description below, and that basically determines the type of shooter you are. A lot of folks think that it's easy to do 1/2 inch groups, or they call themselves a 1/2 inch shooter. I definitely recommend you actually doing that challenge, the Craft challenge, and you'll probably be pretty humbled. Anyways, we're gonna set up a target now, 1,300 yards. It is pretty windy, low visibility out here. We had a sandstorm, but we'll give it a try, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so at 1,200 yards, Every rifle has something called a cone of accuracy. And with us fighting in the elements right now with the wind, us shooters, the wind is the biggest variable on that cone of accuracy. What that means is basically you have a certain hit percentage at a certain range, given the fact of how accurate your rifle is. As you can tell, at 100 yards, this thing does put out a pretty impressive group, but at this distance, 1,200 yards, I'm starting to hit transonic zone. So with this velocity 105 grain burger, the Kestrel is a really good tool. Now, it's telling me at 1,235 yards, I am basically transonic, and subsonic around 1,280 yards. So, like I mentioned, it's a great tool. We have roughly a 10 mile per hour crosswind, exactly at 9 o'clock here, and it is telling me to dial up 10.83. So we'll give that a try. And on the wind hold, it's telling me with the 10 mile per hour crosswind, a 3 mil hold left. And I'm gonna put in another 2/10 for spin drift at this distance and see how close we get on target. So what we have set up here is we have the DeathxSquad Tripod. It's a very stable platform for taking some precision shots at this distance. We are zoomed in with the Burris XTR3 at 10x. I'm gonna give it at 10x here. We have the LRA Sendit unit. We are loaded up. And another quick tip, keep your ammunition out of the sun. Like I mentioned, I'm noticing a velocity increase as the temperatures increase. So same thing, if your powder charge gets hot, you're gonna have your velocity change. So 1,280 yards, let's get a good solid position here. Got the parallax adjusted correctly. I set at affinity. So what you wanna do basically is set your parallax and kind of wobble your cheek weld around and try to mitigate that reticle from moving. So that is staying still as best as can at this distance. We are dialed up. Let's give a 3.2 mil hold left, center target. Make sure we're leveled. Here we go. Okay, so with the SIG unit there, I saw the impact. Now here's something we really need to talk about, and that is mitigating your recoil. Obviously the 6 ARC is very light on recoil. I was able to see that impact, and using the reticle, 2, 4, 6 mils high is what I'm guesstimating here. So let's come down 6/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The wind hold was exactly correct. We'll send another shot here. Okay, second splash was closer. And that is telling me about another 2/10 or 3/10 high. 1, 2, 3 will come down, and we're going to hold another 2/10. We are holding a total of 3.4. All right, elevation is good. We are now fighting the wind. So here's a cone of accuracy I'm talking about. Now at these longer ranges, you want to utilize and take advantage of your cone of accuracy, otherwise known as hit probability. Now depending on the type of shooter you are, the cartridge type, and the rifle itself, that hit probability could be small or it could be large. You obviously want a smaller hit probability, that way you get more impacts or more chances of impacts on that target. So the mistake that shooters make, including I do, is to compensate and start making adjustments on either your hold or your turrets. My best advice that I could tell you is don't touch that turret and don't change your wind hold unless you know for sure that your cone accuracy needs to move to get a better hit probability. So here's what happens. When you start chasing your impacts, you're actually widening your cone of accuracy, meaning you're extending your hit probability and lessening yourself to actually make those impacts. I've actually used this on a couple FTR matches. It was very tempting to not touch that dial and dial in another quarter MOA right after I broke the 9 ring. But I stuck to it and I said, let me send another round. And sure enough, the next round was right on the X ring. So to determine your cone of accuracy, what it's going to take is going to take you to get out there and see exactly what you and your rifle are capable of doing at those applied ranges. Knowing what you and your rifle are capable of doing will give you best judgment if you need to touch those turrets or make adjustments. At this distance, elevation should hold, and now it's just a battle of the wind. Now, I don't have any wind flags down there, so it's really hard to kind of dictate what I'm going to have to hold. The only thing I could guess is we'll hold 4 mils, and we will see where that puts us. That should put us about just left, so I'll probably hold 3.8. And that looked like an impact. So no dust trace. I see the target a little bit swing. So 3.8 elevation, like I mentioned, the Kestrel will get you close. I'm exactly at 10 mils at 1200 yards. Kestrel's calling for 10.8. So there's something in here called DSF. You basically go under your gun profile, go down to your bullet, and there's something that says calculate DSF. So range 1203 yards, we drop, it was exactly 10 mils. So we will put that calculation in, and this is going to get the Kestrel a lot closer. Basically on the Kestrel, you don't want to play with DSF until you're in the subsonic range. So 1200 yards, or 1200 yards, I'm in the transonic. I'm going to put it in there anyway. And it's going to ask me to accept DSF calculation. I'm going to say select yes, view DSF, and it is calculated. So now it's saying 10 mils at 1200 yards. So let's get the target cam up and going and see where we can see those impacts. All right, so not bad. 4 shots at this distance with a good full value crosswind to get on target. That was definitely an impact on the right side of that plate, according to the target cam. We'll try this again. 1200 yards, holding 3.8, left edge. The wind is shifting a little bit, as I could tell with the Palo Verde trees down there. We will see where she's at. That looked like an impact. We're going to hold that cone of accuracy. This is what I'm talking about here. We'll hold that exact same hold, and we'll see how repeatable it is with the wind. That was definitely an impact. One more shot. Definitely an impact. Okay, so pretty happy with that performance. The 6 ARC is no joke, a pretty damn accurate and capable cartridge, even in full value wind. Yep. So we're going. Well, folks, we decided to wrap it up. It's getting to be 115 out here, and it's just not enjoyable. So everything's getting hot. Everything metal warms up pretty damn quick. But essentially, I just wanted to give you guys kind of a quick take of what I do. I mean, I'm not a professional, I don't claim to be a pro, but this is something, a method that I've been doing that I wanted to share with you guys, and it pretty much helps me out. I mean, 1200 yards for a little 6mm cartridge like that at full value wind, it's a pretty difficult shot, and just pretty happy to see the performance of that 6 ARC continue to prevail. And like I mentioned, the little tactics of basically knowing what your cone of accuracy is on your rifle. That's all experience. A Kestrel's not going to tell you that. Ballistic charts aren't going to tell you that. What you're going to have to do is go out there and find out for yourself. So, like I mentioned, the best thing you could do for yourself and your rifle to see how accurate your rifle is actually to push its limits. Find out where your actual cartridge starts to actually deviate its accuracy, or open up its cone of accuracy, so to say. So I know for sure that this cartridge is capable of doing a mile. Is it proficient at a mile? Absolutely not. Can I make consistent impacts at 1,200 yards? I can say absolutely yes. Now 1,300 yards, that's something I wanted to test out today. Actually 1,380 yards or 1,400 yards, but like I mentioned, a little too hot. Well folks, that's all I got. Comment below, let me know what you guys think. As always, stay safe, stay cool, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.